Hello, welcome to MATLAB for Non-Believers. My name is Mark French, and this is the first in a series of videos for brand new MATLAB users. Now, if you're watching this video, chances are pretty good that some propeller head like me is making you use MATLAB, and it's possible you may not be too happy about it. I get it, that's absolutely fine. So why are we using MATLAB? Well, just like there's no universal human language, there's no universal technical computing language. MATLAB's probably as close as we've got. MATLAB is getting used everywhere around the world on research projects, engineering projects, financial analysis, all kinds of things. So if you have MATLAB on your resume, if you can tell a potential employer that you can work in MATLAB, that's a job skill. That may attract a job offer. You may make more money. And if you have more money, it turns out you can buy things. So learn MATLAB, get a new motorcycle. How about that? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the structure of MATLAB, and then we're going to go to my monitor and I'm going to get you started. Now, MATLAB stands for Matrix Laboratory. It started a long time ago as a way to do matrix calculations on computers. And that structure still kind of shows. MATLAB likes to think in terms of lists of numbers and blocks of numbers. And when it came out, Fortran was still one of the primary technical computing languages. And so it has kind of the feel of super duper Fortran. I learned Fortran a long time ago. In fact, I'm just old enough to have actually used Fortran on punch cards. It was old even then, but I did actually do it. And MATLAB was a big, big improvement. Now MATLAB has grown very much to include all kinds of capabilities that the original designer probably never imagined or didn't imagine at the time. If there's one thing that frustrates new MATLAB users, it's syntax. Now, the syntax can sometimes feel a little clunky, but it's like it is because MATLAB is intended to give you as much control as possible over what you're doing. If there's any calculation you can imagine, any plot, graphic, anything that you can imagine wanting to do, MATLAB will let you do it. It's very, very powerful, and that's one of the reasons it's so popular. Now, there's a huge number of functions built into MATLAB, and it can seem pretty intimidating. The good news is you don't need to learn very many of them to get started and be doing useful things. It's kind of like the English language. If you believe the Oxford English Dictionary, there's about 400,000 words in the English language. And very few people have a working vocabulary of more than about 10,000 words. That means English is this big. No one person uses more than about this much of it. MATLAB is the same way. MATLAB is this big. You need to learn about that much of it to get started and to make it useful. You'll pick up new features, new functions, a little bit at a time as you need them. And after a little bit of time using MATLAB, you really will have a fairly complete collection of functions and capabilities that suit the things you need to do. So let's get started.
Okay, here we are in MATLAB. Now when you double click on the MATLAB icon, it'll boot up looking something like this. I'm using version 2015A. Yours will probably be a little more recent than this. So you may not get exactly this layout, but it'll look pretty close. The part you care about the most is this thing right here. It's called the command window. When you talk to MATLAB, you type in stuff right there at that prompt there, the two greater than signs. You can see my cursor's flashing right there. That's where you type in commands to MATLAB. Now the other things you care about mostly here, there's Workspace. Now when you work with data, work with variables, those get stored in Workspace. Workspace is basically the memory that MATLAB uses. You can't work with things generally unless they're in the Workspace. Over here is just the current folder. That just happens to be what's living inside this MATLAB folder I'm using right now. And over here is command history. This is the most recent commands I've typed in, and it just keeps them there in case you want to go back and use some of them. Alright, so when you talk to MATLAB, you're mostly using the command window. There's basically two ways to talk to MATLAB, two interfaces. There's this one, this command window interface, and the other one is called Simulink, where you actually use block diagrams to lay out programs. I find it very difficult to try to do interactive, quick kinds of stuff using block diagrams, so I don't use Simulink very much, but lots of people do, and if you're comfortable with that way of sort of drawing pictures of your programs, you go ahead and use that too. It's fine. One thing that may strike you about this command window interface is that its text, it looks very antiquated. It looks like it's straight out of 1985, and it pretty much is. It's probably not the one I would choose to use, but it's the one we've got, and it's the one that is almost universally recognized among MATLAB users. So to get started, let's do something simple with MATLAB. Let's make a plot. Before I show you how to do a plot in MATLAB, I actually want to show you how to do a plot in Excel, and you may see some similarities in how the two work. So there's Excel. Let me make that a little bigger for you. There we go. Let's make a list of X's. You can take that up to 10. And let's make a list of Y's. And Y will be X squared. Okay, so there we go. Just highlight those. Go up to here to Insert, Chart. I want a scatter plot, and there it is. Okay. There's a plot in Excel. And what I did is there's the two lists of numbers I'm using to make the plot. Now, let me do the same thing in MATLAB. MATLAB thinks in terms of lists of numbers and blocks of numbers, so vectors and matrices. Much of the time, you're going to be working with lists of numbers, and where you look for those lists of numbers is over here. The thing is, it's easy to define very large problems and do very complicated analyses quickly in MATLAB using not too many keystrokes. So if I want to make a list that goes from 0 to 10, and I want to call it X, there's a list that goes from 0 to 10. And there it is. If I want to make Y equals X squared, now this isn't going to work, gang. Red is an error. If text is written in red, it's an error. Your command didn't work. The reason this didn't work is because MATLAB thinks in terms of lists of numbers. I told it I want to square a list of numbers. Well, mathematically, there's more than one way to do that. If I have two vectors of the same length, there's a dot product or there's a cross product, or I could operate element by element so that when I put a list of numbers in, I get a list of numbers out. MATLAB doesn't know which one I want to use. I want to work element by element. And in MATLAB syntax, that says, that little dot right there says go line by line. So there it is. Now that I have it, plot XY, and there it is. That's it. We just made a plot in MATLAB. Now the nice thing about having MATLAB is that formatting plots is really, really easy. I'm going to move this over a little bit so we can see what's going on with our plot as I work on it. Let's say I want to turn on grid lines. Okay. That was easy. Let's say I want to add another plot to it. Let's see, what if y2 equals x squared, no, dot, there we go, dot, over 2. There it is. Okay. Now, MATLAB lingo for I want to add something more is to say hold on, H-O-L-D space O-N. That just says hold that plot. I'm going to put some more stuff on it. Otherwise, if you type in plot, you'll get another plot and another figure. Well, I don't want to do that, so I'll say hold on. Now plot x, y2. And there it is. Now, if I want to go in here and I want to edit my plot, I can do anything I want to this. Make it whatever size I want. Maybe I want to make those numbers bigger. I'm going to click there. Just click on the numbers and it's going to open up plot tools for me. I'll make this big here. Well, what font do I want to use? I got 10 now. Maybe let's go up to 14. That's good. X-axis, do I want to label? Sure. Okay, y-axis. Yeah, sure. There's that. Do I want, I don't know, how about making, I don't have any line markers there. How about I put a marker? I'll make a dime or a circle. That sounds good. And for this one, I don't really like that rust color. I'm going to make it red. I like red better. And for a marker, what do you want to use? How about a square? Oh, I don't want the square. I want the square bigger. Yeah, that's no problem. When you're done, hit that, and you're back to that plot. You can do anything you want with this plot. I can save it as a file if I want. I can save it as a figure file, which is the MATLAB file type that works only in MATLAB, but there's all these other ones. I can save it as any kind of file I want. All right? So there we go. In just a couple of minutes now, we've learned how to make a plot, we've learned how to add things to it, and we've learned how MATLAB works with lists of numbers.